Okay, we're back. Everything has been white lightning clean. Um, and we've got two marble tops that go on top of these two tables. And then I've got this Lazy Susan. This is actually the marble granite top to it, and then this is the base. And I was thinking I was going to paint the base, but this is fine, and I think it's going to work just fine in the color silver. So we're good with that. So the nice thing about this is that I want to paint these marble tops. They're pretty and the granite top, but they're outdated and they don't go with the decor. We're going to do these tables, the bases, in charcoal to match a lot of their other pieces. And the charcoal that we're using is this Black Sands, and it's the Silk all-in-one paint. So it's got a built-in primer and a built-in top coat. All right, that'll be that. But we're going to start on these tops. Now, how can you paint on marble? This is how you do it. Slick stick. It is a bonding primer that you paint on, and it will let paint adhere to a slick surface like marble, glass, metal, laminate, plastic, all kinds of, I've painted so many different things. And this stuff is great. So the way you do it is you buy these cheapy chip brushes, because you don't want to be cleaning this down your drain. Most of Dixie Belle's products are water soluble, and you know, you can clean your brushes in the sink and it's no big deal. But this is an unholy mess once it dries, as it should be, because you want it to bond to the slick material like concrete, which is what it does. So you've got a good surface to paint on. So as easy as this is, and with these real marbles, with the real marble you get some imperfections even if it's polished. So you want to do a little bit of pouncing so you get those holes filled up. And I'm getting the sides all the way around. And I will probably off camera, once this dries, hit the bottom a little bit. Although it shouldn't be a big deal. And it's kind of cool seeing the bottom because it says made in Italy. So, right there. All right, just a fun fact, keep your empty jars of Dixie Belle paint because you never know when you're going to need them. And they work great as little props that don't move for your painting. And this is chip brushes. These are cheap-o. I bought this at Home Depot, 15 of them in a pack. And that's what you want. You want throwaways. Now with these chip brushes, if you're in the middle of a couple of projects, you can put them in a Ziploc bag and keep them moist. So you don't have to throw it away right away. But if it's going to be more than a day or two between projects, it will eventually harden up and you just want to toss it. I try and get the most use out of my tools that I can. I hate throwing stuff out, but some things were made for single uses, and chip brushes are one of them. So as you see, this is a pretty quick process. Now a slick stick, you're going to want to let it, and with the cheap chip brushes you get hairs coming off of it. You're going to want to do this and then let it sit overnight. They ideally say put 2 coats on, and between coats, so you put your first coat on, you want to wait a couple hours till it dries, and then go ahead with your second coat and then let it sit overnight. So it'll be dry, but what you really want is all the bonding process to really adhere. Did I miss a spot?
Yes, you did.
See, this is what happens when you go on camera. You miss a spot. And like I said, the second coat, which I will do on these, because they are going to somebody else's house, and I want to make sure that there's no issues with the paint adhering. Alright, this is my Lazy Susan top, and this is really slick. And I'm going to paint this to match my kitchen set. So we're going to see a little more aubergine, my favorite purple, I think. I'm looking at a couple different ideas on this, but see how quick this goes? And then that's your process to prep your piece. You clean it, and then with something like a slick surface, you go ahead and prime it. Tables, I'm just going to go and hit them with paint in just a few minutes, but I am going to do some sanding, so I'll be back in a minute with that. Okay, I am back. I have sanded and I've taped off, which I'll tell you in just a second why I taped it off. And I was starting on the second coat of the slick stick, which I did on this one, and then I'm going to let these dry overnight.
What's
And
this?
we are joined by Tucker the Wonder Dog, who's not very interested in painting. Tucker!
Tucker,
Hey!
say hello to everybody out there in TV land. Go play wee ball.
Alright, I think he's much more interested in the squirrels in the yard. It is such a beautiful day. I hope you can hear me because there's a lot of noise out there. Everybody's cutting their grass and doing lots of outdoor things. So I sanded these tables down, and really I was trying to just do a scuff sand, with the exception of this surface. It had, it was really coming up. It was in bad condition. So I started sanding, and I can never stop, so I sanded all the way down to a smooth finish here and showed this beautiful wood grain. So I am thinking that we're going to go ahead and paint with the charcoal color, which is Black Sands, Dixie Belle's Black Sands, which is their silk paint that has a built-in top coat, built-in primer. And I may stain this part. So I decided to go ahead and just tape it off. And I can never just tape a little bit. I gotta tape the whole thing just in case it drips. I taped it off, so we're gonna paint everything else. And then this top, I'm not so worried about because that's this marble that we'll paint that goes on here. There's a hole in the center and it just pops right on there. So I am not gonna be too concerned about that. But what I do need is to put these down for a second, because I didn't bring my little furniture dolly things out. And let's see if we can set this up, because it's nice to have it set up where you can paint and you're not painting the surface of your table. So we're gonna get started, and this should take just 2 coats. The silk, you don't use water, so this is completely different than the chalk mineral paint line where you see me with the spritzer and doing all of that. So pretty much I'm gonna start on the center here, and I have got my zebra brush that is this triangle brush, and I like it because it gets into all the nooks and crannies. It goes around these spindles. It's my favorite brush to paint chairs with. One of my favorite. I do have a round one that I like too. But it's a good way to kind of get in everything and get full coverage. And you don't want to be shy about putting this silk paint on, because it's got a self-leveling property in it. And you want to make sure you get everything coated. So we're just kind of going around and around, getting all of that. Try and put the bottom so you can see that. And since I taped off the part that I'm thinking I'm going to stain, I don't have to be too concerned about being neat about it. And I will probably turn this table upside down after it's dry and do the bottom and really get those feet properly done. So I'm just going to keep switching this around so I can see kind of what I'm doing, and you can see what I'm doing. But this stuff is beautiful. It just goes on just so pretty, so buttery, and just, I mean, one coat could almost do it, but I am going to be safe and do 2 solid coats on this. And what you have to do is you've got to wait 20 minutes, I mean not 20 minutes, 2 hours. 20 minutes is the chalk paint. You got to wait about 2 hours between coats to make sure that it's dried and leveled and adhered to the piece. All right, I think I got that. See how fast this is? And what you don't want to do is you don't want to keep going over and reworking it. You know, the first coat's always kind of the messy coat, and it's not going to be perfect, which you guys will probably be able to see better on camera than I can see here. But you don't want to overwork the paint because you'll just start lifting it off. It needs 2 hours to fully dry, but it does set up fairly quickly. So I know that I've got a lot of spots I gotta catch. But this is just so pretty. Even in the charcoal, you can say it's pretty. I'm doing a dining room set, and I've decided to use Deep Seas, which is a dark blue. And I'm really excited about that. You'll get a sneak peek at that pretty soon. Oh God, I can see all the places I've missed. All right. All right, so I'm gonna paint this top and this lid around here, and then I'll tape off and do the other one, and let it sit, and we'll be back with you with the next step. All right, one more piece I cleaned this morning that I'm gonna surprise you with, and it is silver plate. Mind blown. I saw this. Somebody was doing tea sets. And I'm doing this because this piece has been beat up. I cleaned it up as best as I could, but there's some areas on it that are never gonna, the tarnish is never gonna leave. The marks, the scrapes, the stains, whatever's been on here, whatever this piece has been through, it's just not gonna be beautiful again. So we're gonna go ahead and paint it. And I'm kind of excited about this because I got a ton of tea set items in my basement, and it would be really cool to be able to figure this out. So we're starting with the magic of Slick Stick, and this is going to be very interesting. So you're part of this is a guinea pig piece, so you're part of this process. So I'm just really going to slap it on here. Definitely going to do 2 coats on this, and just get good coverage. I don't know is that the pattern and the silver is going to shine through all of this paint that we're doing, but I think the scalloping around the edge will stay clear. And on this one, I will go ahead when this is dry and flip it over and do the back side there, I believe. I say that, but we'll see. Because actually the back side, the bottom of this thing cleaned up better than the top of it. But if you have silver plate, you know what a pain in the neck this stuff is. Every Thanksgiving I spend hours cleaning and getting all the tarnish off. But if you get really bad and you miss long enough, that tarnish will eat away at the finish, and it'll never clean up perfectly. I've got a huge old-fashioned candlestick, or candelabra I should say, that holds what, I don't know, 6 or 8 candles, 5 or 7, I don't know, something like that. And this could be really interesting. I cleaned it up and I use it, but
Candelabra was in 2 pieces.
It was?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have an amazing husband that
Did you?
found some amazing glue to put it together so it actually works again, but it does have a problem to it.
Chip the amazing husband. Yes, you are. Very amazing. Don't know what I'd do without you. Wouldn't be doing this, that's for sure. Okay, so we got the first coat on. Ta-da! So we'll let it dry, and I'll get back to my other pieces.
2.
All right, we are finishing up on the second coat on these 2 cute little formerly marble topped tables. The tops are elsewhere. They've been coated with a bonding primer over the marble because we're going to paint those. And then when I sanded in my prep work, I did a scuff sand before I put the silk paint on. But this part that's got the green painter's tape on it had some damage to it, and so I started sanding, and I went all the way down to the wood, which is beautiful, and I'll show that to you in just a second. And so what I'm going to do is probably do the no pain gel stain in the light gray, because it'll go with the color scheme in their house of where this is going. And that could be really cool, because I am starting to really like the mixture of on a piece of furniture between painted and stained wood. All right, we got that done. Brush back in the thing. All right. Okay, I'm gonna start on this one because it started to dry a little bit. So when you tape off, I just got done painting this table. You can go ahead and take the tape off right away. And hopefully this worked without needing too much touch up. But I mean, look at that wood grain. It's so pretty. And I think if we did that with the gray, I really over taped this because I didn't want anything to wreck this finish. So I see a couple of little, not perfectly straight lines. So I will probably get a little sanding sponge and get out there and just kind of go right along the edge and just even that out so it's a nice, clean, crisp edge on that. But I think that'd be really pretty to do in a stain. So that's what's going to happen next.
Hi, my name is Tucker. You're wondering what I'm doing here. Well, I'm watching the Furniture Duchess. Hey, Grandma, what's the newest project you're working on today?
All right, well, I've got twins, Basil. 2 tables. This one I've already kind of got done. It's a table that had a marble top on it. It was like a beige marble. And if I can get this on right. And there's a little hole in the center. There we go. And this is for a client, and they wanted gray. They wanted the charcoal. And what I did when I think you're gonna see it earlier. What I did earlier is that I had sanded down the top of the base, and the finish was failing, cracking, and the varnish on it wasn't too good. So I started sanding and came down all the way to this beautiful wood grain. And I really like it. And so instead of just painting it all charcoal, I thought I would paint it, stain it actually, with Dixie Belle's No Paint Gel Stain. And I think this is weathered gray. And it's an oil-based product, so once you make that decision, you can't go back unless you take it off. But I did 2 coats on that, and then the marble top I covered with 2 coats of Slick Stick, which is a bonder that you can put over metal, glass, marble, just about anything that's slick, and it'll adhere to it, and then you can paint right on top of it. So we're gonna paint in Wharf, which is one of the colors I've used in their house already. And we're gonna hit that with a couple of coats of paint. So pretty much, I'm just jumping right in. This is one of my favorite brushes. It's a zebra brush. Zebra. And I like the smaller brushes. That's okay. And this is more of a square, a small square. And it's good when you're trying to go around these curvy edges and make sure you get it. So I'm going to do the first coat of the silk, which has a built-in primer, but it's a primer that blocks stains, it blocks odors, things like that. It's not a bonding primer, so that's why I still had to do the Slick Stick below, so that we know that this paint will be there forever. So we're going to hit this real quick with the Wharf, and this also has a built-in top coat. Now I just tend to be a little bit on the safe side, and since this is a tabletop, I'm going to actually put another layer of top coat, maybe 2, with the Gator Hide, which is Dixie Belle's roughest, toughest top coat. And that way we can make sure if somebody puts drinks on the table or, you know, anything, it's going to hold up a little bit better. So we may have some lines, we may have some imperfections in this, but it is the first coat and still pretty good coverage, but I'm going to do a second coat after this dries. Now I have to wait 2 hours for it to dry, which is a little longer than the typical chalk paint, but you got 2 choices. You either do a primer and then the chalk paint, which usually dries in 20 minutes, and then do the top coat. It's really about the same amount of time. So anyway, so we'll come back to that in 2 hours. Now, in the meantime, you're supposed to, the gel stain is oil-based, all right? So you're supposed to mix it up really good because it tends to separate in the jar, although this one's looking pretty good. It really hasn't separated much at all. And there are applicator pads that you can use, but this is such a small space that I'm not going to do that. I'm just taking a shop towel and I took a chunk of it and I'm just going to lightly dip, and then we're going to go with the grain of the wood. So I'm just going to wipe it on. Pretty simple. We're just going to go straight across, wipe it on in the direction of the grain. And I do like doing this with the thinner shop towel because you can kind of feel where you're going, although because I am doing this in front of a camera, I would probably get way down right next to it and really try and be very particular about it, but Again, I think I'm going to do 2 coats for maximum coverage. This gel stain is wonderful. You can put this over existing stain. You can put it over paint. You can put it over raw wood like I'm doing. And it basically sits on top of whatever you're putting it on. So you can cover, because it's fairly thick, you can cover just about anything. I've used this on front doors, stair rails, cabinets. You can use it on pretty much any wood surface that you want. And it will give you a really nice, now I'm making a mess around this wood part, but I can go back and wipe it back. I can use, Big Mama's Butter, which is another oil-based wax. I can go back and wipe it back and it'll come right off. So I am being a little bit messier. Let's try and come around this side a little bit. And it doesn't take much. I mean, just like Brill cream. A little dab will do you. But you want to try and go as much in the same direction because you're following the wood grain. And all right, I am going to just finish up here with this, and then we'll do another coat, and we'll end up with this, and then I'll have to decide if we're going to do some decorative finish on the top.